Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Indie Author Mindset podcast. My name's Adam Croft, and yes, I finally caved and given in, and here it is. I'll tell you, it actually took quite a lot of thought to work out how I could make this podcast different from all of the other magnificent self-publishing podcasts that are out there. And I decided it would be best to frame the podcast in the same way as people in this industry might already know me for being blunt and to the point. But all joking aside, I'm going to keep these episodes as short as I possibly can and jam-pack them with juicy tips, strategies, and some news which might interest you. Now, I'm very keen that this podcast gives you exactly what you need, so if you have any suggestions for topics you'd like me to cover, or questions you'd like me to answer, or anything else at all, just fire me an email at podcast@indieauthormindset.com or catch me in the Indie Author Mindset Facebook group. I should mention at this moment in time that the Indie Author podcast relies, of course, as most podcasts do, on sponsorship. This particular episode is sponsored by BookBrush, the easiest way to create professional ads and social media images for your books. You can get started today with 15% off of any paid plan, with promo code ADAM15. That's ADAM15 over at bookbrush.com. Right, well, let's get started. I've got a little bit of news I want to share with you first of all this week. Quite exciting and a good thing to announce at the top of episode 1. I hit Amazon Storewide #1 on Tuesday here in the UK with The Perfect Lie. That's my 7th Storewide Amazon #1, so I'm very pleased about that. It was following a Black Friday deal that I ran on Amazon, shifted around 2,000 copies of The Perfect Lie that day. I'm doing the same thing with Tell Me I'm Wrong on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, which is the day of recording today as I'm speaking, and I'm actually hoping to repeat that success, and fingers crossed, I'll let you know how I got on next week, but fingers crossed I might manage to hit Storewide #1 with 2 different books 48 hours apart. Fingers crossed, I will let you know how that goes. On that note, the Black Friday deal I'm talking about was a Kindle Daily deal, which Amazon invited me to. Now, DF Hart asked in the Indie Author Mindset Facebook group how authors can get these deals. They're not the KDP Select Countdown deals or anything like that. I'm a wide author in more ways than one. These are the invitation-only deals, which many authors get in their inbox. They usually say you've been invited to take part in a deal, and they give you a link to click. Now, many people think this is spam because it is really quite a dreadful system from Amazon, sending you an email saying just click and we'll give you this wonderful promo. So many people ignore them. I've seen lots of posts in groups, people asking if they're spam. They're not. They're actually gold dust. Although please do make sure you do your due diligence and make sure it is an authentic Amazon email and not an actual spam one. The real ones come from kdp-support@amazon.com. Check the email headers and make sure that's not being spoofed. And they carry the subject line Kindle promotional opportunity, urgent response requested. There we go, very catchy. I, in other news, have got my 9th Night in Culver House book up for pre-order, as well as my 3rd box set in that series. I'm hard at work on my new psychological thriller, currently doing about a book a month, so catching up for lost time. Some of you might know I had a few months actually off work this year through ill health, so playing catch up now. I'm also working on final edits for my new mini course on building your sales on non-Amazon retailers when you're wide. And as a listener to the podcast, by the way, you can claim a massive 50% off of any of my courses. Just go to courses.indieauthormindset.com, find a course that interests you, and enter the promo code podcast at the checkout. Now, we're going to have a little talk about BookBub. On the Indie Author Mindset Facebook group this week, we had a very interesting question from Simon Norfolk, who asked about BookBub Ads. He said, question for Adam or any other BookBub experts. If I run 2 BookBub campaigns with exactly the same author targeting, date range, creative, etc., with the only difference being that one ad is CPM and the other CPC, will they compete against each other, i.e. push up my CPM or CPC for either campaign? Now, Alana Terry chipped in. She said she believes the technical answer is yes, they might compete against each other, and a little bit of discussion came up there around the subjects of CPM and CPC, CPM being where you're paying for the impressions and CPC for the clicks. As a point of order, I have generally found that CPM tends to be cheaper, tends to be more reliable, tends to be a bit more predictable. Some people do prefer CPC. The clicks tends to be a bit more expensive on that front, but do your testing. If you're doing BookBub ads, I'm sure we'll focus more on that in some future episodes. But I chipped in and I said, well, I believe you can't actually compete against yourself with BookBub ads. So I paged Carlin Robertson from BookBub. She's in the group as well. If you're not a member of the Indie Author Mindset Facebook group, by the way, you really should be, because lots of industry leaders and experts in there who are willing to give their advice completely free of charge. Carlin from BookBub said, correct, your own ads won't drive up prices for you. If you're the highest bidder for an impression, you'll pay the rate of the next highest bid in the auction that's from a different advertiser. In other words, you always pay the rate of the second highest bidder unless that bidder is yourself. However, your ads do compete for impressions, so 2 ads with the same targeting but different bids, as in this case with 1 CPM and 1 CPC bid, will serve unevenly. One will likely win impressions more quickly than the other. Hope that helps. So yeah, some clarification there. Your own ads won't drive up your own prices. You cannot compete with yourself on BookBub ads when it comes to pricing, but of course each email can only show 1 ad. So your CPM and your CPC ad won't both be shown in the same emails. So yes, they will serve unevenly. No telling really which one it's going to be. So the number of impressions will be different. But as always, do your own testing there. There are some exciting new bits of news actually coming on BookBub ads, and one particularly exciting, game-changing new development from BookBub which is coming shortly. I can't tell you too much right now, but I did speak to the guys at BookBub yesterday about this. I'm testing it for them at the moment, and as soon as I get the nod, I'll share it with you guys immediately. But it is huge, I will tell you that much. If you have any other questions, by the way, you want answering on this podcast, head over to the Indie Author Mindset Facebook group or email podcast@indieauthormindset.com. Now, it's time for this week's Ninja Tip. I really don't know why I'm boxing myself in with this segment, because all of these tips should be ninja tips, but like most authors, you're likely to have found that a huge number of your subscribers won't open any given email campaign you send out. Now, there are lots of reasons why that could be, but perhaps it didn't catch their eye or it ended up caught in their spam filter. Try resending your latest campaign to subscribers who didn't open it, but this time with a different subject line. It could be enough to get you through the spam filter or to catch their eye more effectively. You might also want to experiment with sending your non-opener emails using a different sender email address or even a different email marketing provider. And don't forget, every time you increase your opens by 10%, you're potentially increasing your income by 10%. Now, I'm not sure how long that particular segment is going to last on this podcast. It may well be one of those things that we look back on in the months to come, or hell, even days to come, and think, why did I start that? But let's see how it goes. On to some proper news now. There was another very interesting question and point of debate this week in the Indie Author Mindset Facebook group, started by Mark Chapman, who asked, does anyone know whether I can put a book on pre-order on Google Play? I've had a quick look, he says, but couldn't find anything. In short, yes, this is something I do. I've started doing with my last few books, and it is something I would recommend. Shell Bliss came in and she said, I personally wouldn't. There have been too many horror stories where Google Play Play has reduced the price of the pre-order and Amazon has price matched, causing a loss of thousands of dollars. Google Play always gets uploaded for me at the end of release day as I cross all my fingers and toes, hoping they don't mess with the price. Now, this is something that people have been talking about for quite some time now, the fact that Google does discount books. Regardless of the price you set, they will take a chunk off and effectively set their own price. Now, the tip here for many a year has been to artificially inflate your list price in order to allow for that. Pete Blythe chipped in on the thread, and he said that there are charts on various blogs that show how much it is to do that by, but it's generally about a third. I've found that the discounts they give during pre-order and during the live period of the book are pretty much the same, or almost exactly the same. Good thing about Google Play is that you can put your book live, and as soon as it's there, even if it's up for pre-order, when you change the price, it reflects on the Google Play catalogue pretty much immediately. I'm talking within 10 seconds. So you can have a play with that and make sure you get it to show the right final price for you, purely by trial and error, really. You can enter the price in your Google Play part of the dashboard, keep increasing it, keep decreasing it until the discounted price after Google Play have taken off their discount shows the right amount. But I would certainly recommend doing pre-orders for Google Play. So we've raced through as intended, but I think that's about it for this week. How is that? We've packed in quite a lot already in a fairly short show today. I'm trying to keep these podcasts to under 15 minutes, pack them with actionable tips for you, so that you've got plenty to be getting away with. Very little waffle. I'm not a fan of waffle, as any who know me or who hang about in my Facebook group will know. I do like to get to the point. But thank you for listening. Thank you for enjoying, hopefully, episode 1. As I said earlier, I'm very, very keen that this podcast gives you exactly what you need from it. So if you've got any suggestions for topics you'd like me to cover, questions you'd like me to answer, or anything else at all, just fire me an email at podcast@indieauthormindset.com or catch me in the Indie Author Mindset Facebook group. This episode of the Indie Author Mindset podcast was presented by me, Adam Croft, and brought to you by BookBrush, the easiest way to create professional ads and social media images for your books. Get started today with 15% off any paid plan with promo code ADAM15. That's ADAM15. The theme music for this podcast is by the Caesareans. Don't forget you can claim 50% off any Indie Author Mindset course by entering the promo code podcast at the checkout. Links are in the show notes. For more great tips and guidance, join the Indie Author Mindset group on Facebook.